Republic Aviation, and the same design team that worked on the P-35 went with Republic and began working on their first major project, which was the P-43 Lancer. And you can see a real clear lineage in the development of the P-47 based on these three designs. The P-35, the P-43, the P-47 all share common characteristics and resemble each other. Well, the P-43 went into production shortly after World War II began, and it served as an export fighter. It wasn't something that the U.S. Army Air Force could use, so Republic sent it overseas to the Chinese, where it did not have a very distinguished service career by any means.
Designed to be a high-altitude fighter, the P-43 had a top speed of 350 miles per hour and could carry a pair of 50 caliber machine guns in the nose and 4 30 calibers in the wings. Initially delivered in September 1940, the P-43 impressed some with its high service ceiling of 38,000 feet. Nonetheless, the Lancer proved inferior to most fighters of the day, and the Army Air Corps used them only for tactical reconnaissance training in the United States.
The P-43 was a failed design. There was no way Republic could look at this as anything but a failure. And here they were in the middle of wartime America. They needed to be able to come up with a design that would be effective, not just from a cost standpoint and a contract standpoint, but also they were interested in building a war-winning aircraft. And they chose to go the evolutionary route. So they studied their design. They studied the failure. They examined the reasons why. They got back reports from operational units and decided to progress in a slightly different course, but they did extract some of the better attributes of the P-43, and they applied them to what became the P-47 program.
In 1939, the Army Air Force issued a request for a high-altitude fighter that could use the new turbo supercharger that Boeing had developed for the B-17 heavy bomber. Such an installation on a fighter would require the plane to be huge indeed, but that didn't deter Republic. After studying the Army Air Force's requirements, the company's chief designer quipped, "It'll be a dinosaur, but a dinosaur with good proportions."
Because of the Army's specifications on this new fighter, Republic chose to design the P-47 around two main features. The first was a brand new engine called the Pratt & Whitney R2800, which was an 18-cylinder radial engine. It was just monstrous, and it provided 2,000 horsepower, which was far more than most any other engine of its day. So it was a very revolutionary engine. The other thing that they needed to design around was the fact that the turbo supercharger took up a lot of space. So the reason why the fuselage for the P-47 is so deep is because of the fact that the engine was so enormous to begin with, and the ductwork and all the accoutrements for the turbo supercharger required a massive amount of space.
Dubbed the XP-47B, the new fighter possessed enormous gait. As it sat on its wide, long landing gear, it reminded some of a giant milk jug on wheels. As a result, throughout the war, pilots and ground crew rarely referred to the P-47 as anything other than the jug.
In June of 1940, this is a year and a half before the war starts, the U.S. Army Air Corps places an order for 773 P-47s with Republic. And this $56 million contract is really a rich plum for Republic to get. But it represents quite a risk on the part of the Air Corps with the slender resources that are available at the time.
Not only was it risky, but it was a leap of faith that Republic could actually deliver. At the same time, the fact that they did this a year before the prototype flew was also symptomatic of a larger problem, which was there were so few combat-capable aircraft, especially fighter designs, being conceived of and built in the United States at the time, that the Air Force had to take the risk. There really wasn't very many other options.
Republic's early test flights of the prototype revealed tremendous potential and more than justified the Army's leap of faith. Though it weighed over 5 tons, the XP-47 could reach speeds over 400 miles per hour. In fact, at altitude, it was the fastest fighter ever built for the Army Air Force up to that time. Tests also showed that the P-47 was an excellent formation aircraft.
The 47, when you pulled the power on it, that huge nose out there was like running into a haystack, suddenly equipped. It was easy to fly formation because 38, you'd come in and overrun everybody. That's the first thing that we all learned when we had inline engine. You want to slow down early and sneak up on your flight leader. But on the 47, it was a beautiful airplane for flying close, very close. We trapped our flight leader one time. Two of us coming up the Irrawaddy River ran into the overlapping wings, and he would go like this, but you wouldn't dare do that in an aircraft that wouldn't stop or start as quickly as a 47.
In close formation, you're leading on, three guys are flying on another guy. They're not taking their eyes off of him. And they're flying on him all the time. They're looking at him all the time, especially you get into clouds. If you fly in the clouds, you've got to be in tight formation, otherwise you can run into one another. And you have a mission. We had a mission one time, I think it was a 5-hour mission. We were probably 4 hours in the clouds. And 2 flights finished the mission. The guy was leading the group and my flight. The rest of them went home, got in trouble and went home.
The first production Thunderbolts rolled off Republic's assembly lines in early 1942. That spring, the Army Air Force decided that the 56th Fighter Group would be the inaugural P-47 outfit in the service. It was a historic decision that laid the foundation for one of the greatest legacies in Air Force history. With its P-47 Thunderbolts, the 56th Fighter Group would, by war's end, become one of the highest-scoring outfits in history. With dozens of aces in its ranks, the 56th became better known as the Wolf Pack. In the spring of 1942, the recently formed 56th Fighter Group that had been training with a motley collection of P-40s, P-39s, and AT-6s was given the first production batch of Thunderbolts. Known as Zemke's Wolfpack after the group's commander, Hub Zemke, the 56th Fighter Group would fly P-47s for 3 years straight while building up a combat history that has become legendary since the war.
Hub Zemke was one of those rare pilots who possessed a very interesting blend of talents. One of the things that he is remembered for is his uncanny marksmanship. He was a great shot. He was also a great aviator. He was a tremendous pilot, had phenomenal talent there. But what really makes him stand out and gives him kind of a uniqueness not found in other aces is the fact that he was a great leader of men as well. He could inspire and lead like few men of World War II. And because of that, and plus his other talents in the air, those combined really made him one of the great combat air leaders of World War II.
56 had most of the aces most of the time. And 56 wound up with the highest air-to-air victories of any group over in the 8th Air Force, and I think any group in the war. And they were second for total aircraft destroyed, but they were first in air-to-air combat. I was assigned to the 63rd Squadron, which was Comstock Squadron. In fact, there was 4 of us got there. It was 4 or 5, and we all finished our tours.